So we built it. Another thing is that we do have a completely free version without a trial limit. So as Justin mentioned, you can click the link, sign up for a free account right now. I'll talk about the functionality we have and what's free versus what's not free, so you do have that clear picture. But we don't just have like a free trial, like we truly have a full free version. And then if you do upgrade to our paid version, we're very inexpensive, $99 a year. Doesn't matter how many properties that you have, you can get everything that you need for only 99 bucks a year. So a very affordable way, even if you only have 1 or 2 properties to self-manage online. As you'll see some screenshots throughout this presentation, we're really easy to use. We look really great. So as you do poke around the platform, you'll see that very intuitive. And I'll brag later on in this presentation about our customer service, but we have an incredible customer service team, 7-day-a-week support. So if you are new to using software, it's just a really good support.
Teresa, we already have people in the chat room on YouTube saying that they started using TurboTenant and it's well worth it. So
nice.
I just wanted to throw that out there, some encouragement for you.
I love it. Thanks. I appreciate that. And so a couple of things when it comes to what you can do with property management software, what types of problems that it solves. So first of all, self-managing. One of the reasons I wanted to self-manage is because I wanted to learn how to do the things. I wanted to understand what managing a property was about, especially as I expand my portfolio and I have to, if I manage my property managers down the road because I don't want to self-manage anymore, I wanted to really know what that was comprised of. And also, I have a very moderate property, it's not a cash cow. It's a good deal. It's a good investment, but I really don't want to give 10% or whatever the property management fee is to somebody else. So one reason to self-manage and use softwares is to save that money. If you are using a lot of different softwares to do different things, you're using Excel to track your expenses, you're using Venmo to collect rent, you're using QuickBooks for your accounting or something, or you're using, all these different online services to list your property. So you're using all these different softwares. You don't really need to do that. You can make it easier and streamline and save a lot of time. And also, as I mentioned, save time posting your listings, and we'll go into that and how you can do that a lot more quickly and effectively. Simplify your accounting. Rental property accounting and accounting period, it may not be your thing. It's not everybody's thing. And so as you're really diving into financially how rental properties help you grow your wealth and all the benefits that it can provide to you, making that accounting piece a lot easier is just a nice peace of mind. And looking professional. I mean, I only have 1 rental property, but I wanted to establish myself as a professional business. I want to grow this portfolio. I want it to be how I generate the majority of my income. And I want to start from day one. I don't want to be using text messages and rando cash apps and all of these things. I want to be professional. And avoid handling sensitive information. So not touching the kinds of information that you could get in trouble if it's leaked later, worrying about how you're protecting that information. You can avoid doing that. And then finding the best tenants for your rental property. So if any of you have rental properties right now, you know that finding a good tenant is really going to make or break your experience as a landlord. So using software to your advantage to do that. Building legally valid lease agreements instead of downloading something free you find online and hoping it's good enough. And have the ability to be a little bit more likely to receive rent payments on time. And we'll talk about that, how you can do that with property management software. And then just in general, keeping all of your communications in one place. So we have had situations with landlords where they get to a court-related dispute with a tenant and they need all those records. They need all those. And so instead of spending hours and hours and hours of time digging through years of text messages and emails and whatever other areas that a tenant might be messaging you or communicating with you, it's all in one place. You can send and receive all your messages in one place and have all of that documented and see when tenants saw messages and make it a lot easier down the road if you do need that information because it's all there. So as we dive into specific functionalities that property management software can help you with, first and foremost is filling your vacancies. So right now, what a lot of landlords do when they're filling their vacancy is they use online tools, but they go to each of these websites and they create listings one by one. They go to apartments.com and create a listing, and then they go to Zumper and they create a listing. And then they go to Craigslist and they create a listing, and they spend all of this time creating all of these listings and all these different sites. And so the way TurboTenant works is we syndicate out to all of these different sites, over 50 sites. On our support website, you can actually get a full listing of all the sites that we syndicate to. So you create one listing on TurboTenant, and we push that out everywhere: apartments.com, rent.com, Zumper, whatever, all these different websites. So it makes it so much easier for you. And this is actually a free service. So it'll save you an immense amount of time because we push out to so many sites. Our landlords get about 28 leads on average per listing. Some get dozens and dozens or over 100 because they've got this incredibly made rental listing, great photos, great descriptions, but on average, 2-3 dozen listings per vacancy. And then something else that we have is we have an automatic pre-screener. So, you might put your criteria in your listing. You might say, hey, you can't have pets, or you can only have pets of a certain size, right? Or, oh, no more than 4 people in this house. Or you may say, oh, you need to make, 3 times monthly rent in income. And so we have an automatic pre-screener that's pushed out to help you quickly qualify some of these tenants. And to give you a quick look, this is just a screenshot in the product that shows you, when you get these leads in, when people respond to your listing, you get to see which websites they came from. You get to see a check mark if they've filled out the pre-screener. If they haven't filled out the pre-screener, you can send it to them again, say, hey, can you fill this out? I want to see if you qualify based on what I've listed as qualifications. If you've had a conversation with someone and you feel pretty good about them, you can invite them to formally fill out an application. So it's really easy to manage all in one place, and you can even manually add more things. So if you are, you have a realtor friend who refers somebody over to you, you can manually add them in here. So then you can also send them a pre-screener, an application, keep that lead alongside all of your other leads. So it makes it really easy to manage communications with folks who are interested in your rental. The next step that property management software helps you with, and TurboTenant specifically, is applications and background checks. So it's kind of tied together as a package with the way that we do it. It is free to the landlord. You can opt to pay for it, but in most cases, the tenant will be paying for the application and background check, just like if they were to go rent an apartment in a major apartment complex. So we do have rental applications, all the standard questions, looking at their employment history, who do they work for now, who did they work for before, their rental history, who are your last, X amount of landlords or last residences over the last few years. You can even put custom questions in there. So if there are a few nuances to your unit or a few things you really want to make sure that you get that information early on, you can customize that as well. So it makes it really, really easy to collect that information, see it at a glance. If you want to be able to call past landlords, if you want to be able to call current employers and validate that income, whatever it might be, all of that info is there. And then this syncs directly to screening reports. And so with screening reports, we, as I mentioned before, you avoid touching their personal information. So they plug in their social security number, they plug in all that info, makes it really easy, just one transaction instead of filling out an application or a Google form, and then also going online somewhere else to get a screening report done. It's all in one place. And our screening reports are done through a partnership with TransUnion. And so very, very legit information. What it does is it pulls credit scores and what may be affecting those credit scores. It pulls a criminal history, and if there's anything current within that. Also eviction history, so if they had been evicted in the past, and where that stands. So you get a full picture of who this potential tenant could be. I will note, depending on where you live, some jurisdictions, you are not able to use all of this information in making your decision. There are some states or some cities who say you can't use criminal history against whether or not you approve somebody as a tenant. So I'm not a lawyer, but you do get visibility into all this info. And if you are in jurisdictions like I am, where I can evaluate all of this info within criteria as to whether or not someone's a good tenant, it gives you all of that. And then if you do subscribe to our premium subscription, you get a bonus. It's called Income Insights. And so what that is TransUnion looks at all the reported income history of this prospective tenant, and they validate whether or not how much money they think they make based on what's been reported, through tax filings or other sources. So if your tenant says I make $6,000 a month, and Income Insights comes back and they're like, yeah, this person looks like they probably make $5,500 to $6,500 a month, you just feel a little bit more comfortable saying, you know what, this person's telling the truth. Maybe you dig in a little bit less deeply when you call their employers. And so you can use that information just as another checks and balance. Additionally, lease agreements. So this is a really big deal. Finding a good lease agreement that is up to date, that is valid for your specific jurisdiction or your state is a big deal. So we actually offer state-specific lease agreements for all 50 states. We also have some cities and some counties that we have specific lease agreements for because of additional laws. A lot of Illinois and New York type of scenarios there. We have a very easy to use wizard, and here's some just kind of snapshots there. You click some buttons, you fill in some blanks, and it builds your lease agreement for you. You can even still add custom terms if you want to. You can attach documents. So for example, I have an HOA with my rental, and my tenants are required, if I'm leasing it out, to sign off on our HOA rules, and I have to turn that into my HOA. So I can attach that and make it easy, all when they're doing their lease agreement, and it includes all the signatures. And if you have your own lease agreement that you like to use, you can simply upload that and just use TurboTenant for all your signatures as well. Another thing that I really like is we have lease addendum. So I recently renewed my tenants for another year, and I didn't want to fill out an entirely new lease agreement. There were no big changes to anything. And so there's just a simple addendum. Let's extend their date. If the rent changed a little bit, I could include that. If there was a minor change to a state law or a local law, I could even include that there. And it just makes it simple, more of a one-sheeter for a renewal, or maybe they're adding pets, and so you want to do some kind of pet acknowledgement or increased rent because of a pet. Makes it a little easier there instead of redoing an entire lease. And so with lease agreements, this is something that with TurboTenant is not free. You can either pay a la carte for a lease agreement or e-signature or addendum, or if you do subscribe to premium, it's unlimited. So if you have 20 properties and you do a new lease for every single one of their properties during the year, that's all of those lease agreements for the $99 a year. So it's very affordable if you have a lot of properties, or if you're using TurboTenant for midterm rentals and you're flipping those properties every few months. So you're doing a lot of lease agreements within a year period of time. Another quick thing that we have to offer, landlord forms. So there's lots of good forms out there, lots of good references for that, but we have several dozen different forms that are helpful. Move in, move out checklists, estoppel certificates, welcome letters, detailed pet addendums, all kinds of different forms. So this is included with premium. These are not free, but with premium, they're unlimited. So you can download them. You can attach them to your lease agreement. You can fill them out separately. You can bring them in person. You can do whatever that you want to do with these. And so just another nice bonus to help you throughout your landlord journey. Rent collection's a big thing. I really like to touch on this. How many people are using a Venmo or a PayPal or something to collect rent? A lot of landlords are doing something like that. A lot of landlords are physically picking up cash, physically collecting checks. So you can collect your rent online with TurboTenant. Some things that I really like about that is, so first of all, we automate reminders. So we automatically send emails before your rent is due that says, hey, your rent's coming up, pay it, in a much more polite way. We also allow renters to sign up for auto pay. So if you have somebody responsible, they're always paying by the first of the month, they may go ahead and elect to do auto pay. You can automate late fees. So on the 7th of the month, you can charge an $85 fee, and that's what's written in your lease agreement. You can automate that in TurboTenant, where if they haven't paid by that date, it'll automatically upload that charge to what is due. So you don't have to feel like the bad landlord who's like enforcing your lease agreement. It just automates it, makes it simple. It's there, they log in to pay and they're like, oh, I've got another $85 late fee because I didn't pay on time. Also automates receipts to the tenant, so they feel really good about that. They can pay not only ACH, but also credit card. So if they are low on cash, but they don't want to pay rent late, they can pay with credit cards, just like ACH. This is a free service for landlords. So you can market your property for free. You can collect rent for free, do your applications and screening for free. If tenants do use credit cards to pay their rent, there is a fee for credit card usage, which is pretty standard with a lot of things. So there's an option too for tenants to elect to do rent reporting. So if you have tenants who typically pay on time, they can opt in to share their on-time rent payments with TransUnion and boost their credit score. So it's just kind of a nice added benefit to tenants. So if they're trying to buy their own home here in a couple of years, they're just trying to increase their credit, they can do that, and it'll only share their on-time payments. It won't share their any late payments. So it can only help them, can't really hurt them. So that's nice too. And as I mentioned before, just professionally manage your rental properties by using a property management software. So instead of texting maintenance requests and sometimes sending an email with some attachment with something else, and then, you know, sometimes calling them and sometimes this, and it's kind of all over the place. And instead of looking very mom and pop and Mickey Mouse, you know, you can just have a nice professional facade to the business that you're building with your rental properties. So I use TurboTenant for my maintenance requests. My tenants submit a request, they put in details. Sometimes I ask them for more details inside there. I message them and say, hey, you know, you mentioned X, Y, and Z. Let me ask you these couple of questions. I'll expand on that maintenance request. One cool thing too in here is your maintenance request. You can click a button and send that in an email to your handyman. So if you normally, or your service provider. So if you normally email your handyman all the details of something that you need, makes it that much easier. Message your tenants. You can manage all your documents in here as well. So if your tenant gives you an emotional support animal form and you want to make sure that it's housed in here with all the other documents and communications regarding this tenant, just upload it in here. If you have financial documents when you closed on your rental property that you just want to keep all in one place, you can choose which documents tenants can see and can't see. And so you can just keep everything in nice one place and make it easy to reference all the needs that you have for those properties. And diving into the accounting and expense reporting. And one quick note back on managing your rental properties. All of this is free as well. So tenant communications, maintenance requests, all of that stuff, part of the free part of the product as well. So with anything accounting, so there's a couple of options. So one option is we have general expense tracking that is free. So you're collecting your rent over here. You can download reports as to what your cash flow or what your revenue looks like. And then over here, you can input all of your expenses that you have. So then at the end of the year, you can download an expense report. So it's kind of more of a simple way to do it. We did want to offer landlords a more robust accounting tool. So we have an integration with REI Hub. And REI Hub is an accounting software specific for real estate investors. It does cost extra. It is a little pricier. But what's nice about it is one-click report. So you take REI Hub, it syncs with your TurboTenant account, it syncs with whatever bank accounts that you're using for your rental property, automatically pull in all the information. You can do one-click accounting reports and tax forms. You can also generate all the financial statements you might need. So if you're using the performance of these properties to get loans from banks or to approach private investors or private money lenders, you can easily pull all of this financial information, look really buttoned up, use that to your advantage as well. So whether you want something simple to track your expenses or something more robust for full service accounting, we got you covered. And as I mentioned before, bragging on our customer support, we do have 10-day a week, 7-day a week customer support. Email, chat, and phone. Phone is reserved for folks who are members of our premium service. One cool thing with phone too is you can set a meeting. So just say you decided, I want to use TurboTenant. I've got 10 properties. You start onboarding all these properties. You have some questions. You can just set a time with our customer support team. So you can run through everything at one time and not just be using chat back and forth. So very, very valuable. Every employee at TurboTenant is actually required to do a certain amount of customer support hours every quarter, even though we're not the full-time customer support team. So I do spend a couple of times every quarter assisting with customer support. So who knows, you may get me one time, but it's really neat because we all get to see what that looks like and feels like, and then how we can better everything else that we do to make your experience better as a landlord using the product. Just got a couple more slides of things I want to go after, and then we can chat about, open up to questions or anything else. We do have some in-product partnerships that just make your journey a little bit more smooth. Here's a few of them. An example is Shore Renters Insurance. So if you require renters insurance, your renter can just simply upload a form into TurboTenant, just proving like, yeah, I bought renters insurance with my Allstate provider or whoever that might be. Or right in the platform, they can say, I'm just going to elect to use Shore, $8 a month, have my renters insurance. It's easy, it's right here. And then you have visibility into whether or not they have an active policy because of our integration with Shore as well. So just a few other abilities to, or a few other things in the product that'll help you manage your rental business, both on your business standpoint as well as with your tenants. So what's not offered by TurboTenant? And I say yet because some of these things, whether it's this year or coming years, we may have. So as I mentioned before, pretty much anything that is online, anything that doesn't require you to physically be in the unit, you can do with TurboTenant. What we don't do right now is we don't have scheduling or rental showing services. So whether it's just kind of a calendar of visibility for maintenance requests and other things that you're doing at your units, whether it's scheduling specific times to enter the unit or show the unit or whatever that might be, we don't currently do that. That is being evaluated and maybe on our future roadmap. Another thing is connecting you with vendors. Aside from some of the in-product partnerships that I previously showed, we don't have connection to you for handymen or house cleaners or GCs or some of these other things. We are currently evaluating some partnerships. We may have this to you soon. This will probably be something that you see this year in TurboTenant. So hopefully this will be resolved. And then physically coordinating any of that for you, right? So even when you get to a first step of saying, here's a list of handymen in your area that you may want to contact, we're not physically coordinating that and managing that process for you, right? So, we're for landlords who do want to self-manage and do everything we can to keep you out of that unit. But there are going to be a few times that you might need to show up to the unit for an open house or have some resources to coordinate those vendors that you need in your area. And another thing that we launched this year, just to continue your landlord specific education, is TurboTenant Academy. So we do have a phenomenal blog. We have a lot of great free webinars on various topics. And then we have some inexpensive classes through TurboTenant Academy specific to certain areas of landlording. We have a Fair Housing for Landlords course, pretty great I can pretty much guarantee you, if you take that course, you will realize you're probably doing at least one thing that technically violates fair housing law. But a really good way to sharpen your skill set as to what is and is not in violation of fair housing. Also has a lot of like cases, like case studies, lawsuits, things like that. So very valuable. And then we recently launched 10 expensive tax mistakes to avoid. So although if you watch that now, a little bit late to avoid those mistakes for this tax season, since that due date's coming up in a couple of weeks, but really good timing to take that now in preparation for next year. It's still early in the year, a lot of pivots that you can make in your business to help you better prepare for next year. Make sure you're leveraging all the benefits that you can with owning rental property. So really good course to look at as well. And we do have a few other tools on our site. You may have other tools shared by Justin or Claude that you really, really like. And that's great. If you don't currently have tools, we do have a few real estate investor type tools as well. We do have a rental property calculator. It's free. You can go on and analyze some deals, makes it very easy. And then also rent estimate reporting. So we do have an integration with a data company that provides you with a range of rent for your unit in your area. So if you are trying to determine if you want to raise rent, or you're trying to find a really good true value of rent for your rental property calculator, there's a lot of sites out there that charge for that. You can do it free with us. So I encourage you to check that out for sure. So you've heard me talk now for way too long. As mentioned, this QR code goes to the same link that Justin posted. You can scan this, you can sign up for free, poke around the platform, see what it's like. It's and doesn't cost anything to just take a look. So, all right.
That's great.
So thank you guys. What questions do we have?
I think we got a bunch.
You got a bunch here. Could you go back to the regular stop share screen for a sec?
Yes, absolutely.
Unless you have other slides.
Nope, I just was
There
leaving
you
it up in
are.
case there was a question about a slide.
Oh yeah, no, we had a couple questions posted in here. Hey, that was a great presentation. Thank you.
That was.
Oh,
That was
thank
super
you.
good.
That was very good.
Very
I'd like to ask the first question. I have an extremely young and good-looking son in Fort Collins. Can I introduce him to you?
I'm married, but thank you, Claude.
That shouldn't stop him. Oh no, I'm kidding. Really good. Go ahead. I think Justin had a question. Go ahead. And by the way, I did take a picture when your little scan thing was there, and it works brilliantly.
Great.
Do you guys all know how to use it? You just go to your camera whenever you have, what do you call those little link graphics things?
QR code.
QR code.
QR
Thank you.
code.
All you got to do is open up your camera, and it'll automatically take you, and then click on it, and it'll automatically take you to that link. Go ahead, Justin.
You know what? It got me excited watching all of that to actually take a deeper look a little bit if we could. And maybe like, is this something that we can do lease to own, rent to own, lease option, lease purchase,
Great
or
question.
is that not an option for us? You know, with the marketing and the syndication and the,
Yeah. So I'll answer your question. Hopefully I'm answering it right. So if I'm purchasing a property from you, Justin, and I'm doing a lease to own. Okay. Okay. Let me back up here. So are you talking more for, because there's two sides to this, right? So one side would be if I were doing a lease to own from you, but I'm actually not going to live in the property myself. Really more a seller financing thing. And I say, Justin, seller finances to me, I'm going to rent it out though. I'm not going to live there. Then you would do this just like any other rental property, right? Because Justin, you're my bank instead of US Bank or my local credit union, right? If you are meaning lease to own, where I am the tenant, I'm leasing to own. Yes, you could totally use this for that with some nuances. So one nuance is We don't have an agreement that's a lease to own agreement. So you would want to upload your own agreement for
Okay.
whatever this lease to own option is.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Depending on what that looks like if it's a lease to own situation where they're in charge of their own maintenance, maybe they're not really using maintenance requests so much because they're responsible for that. So it just depends on what agreement that you have with them. But if you are still touching the unit in any way, if you are still maintaining certain things, you're still collecting rent, right? Because regardless of it being lease to own, you're still collecting that rent. You're still going to market your property to people who want to lease to own. You can still use it for all of those things. So just the biggest difference would be you would want to include your own lease to own agreement, but you could still use us for all the signatures.
Okay, great. Syndication won't be a problem for me with a lease to own property or something like that.
No, it shouldn't be because
Okay.
you're still looking at someone to essentially rent your unit, right? If
Right.
they violate the terms of the lease to own, they don't own it,
Okay,
right? They
right.
get gone. So so
Okay.
you would simply do it as a rental and express in the listing that you are highly interested in people who want a lease to own.
Okay, great. Thank you, Teresa. Tim John had a great question here in the chat. He says he uses a competitor at this time, but for no real reason other than he found them first.
Oh,
How easy is the transition process? Can you speak to that, Teresa?
yeah, it's pretty easy. If you have a ton of properties, obviously it'll be a little time consuming. We do, just a quick note, if you do, visit the Turbo Tenant link provided in the chat and you scroll to the bottom, the very footer of our website, that says why choose Turbo Tenant. It'll show you how we compare to some of our top competitors. So just to let you guys know, so if you want to know why we're different than somebody else who's out there. What a lot of people do when they transition to Turbo Tenant are a few things. So sometimes they just bite the bullet and do it all at once. So just say you have 5 properties, you'll say, you know what, I'm just gonna go ahead and do it. I'm going to, put the info for my properties in. I'm going to transfer my tenants to doing rent collection inside Turbo Tenant. They just pick a date and they just do it. And then some landlords do it over the course of just say a year, where when they have a milestone, typically like they're filling a vacancy or they're renewing a lease agreement, then they'll like transition each of those properties at that time and just kind of slow roll it. Really, it's super, super simple. You're not required to fill out way too much information about your properties, just to simply transfer some tenants over and begin using the product. You'll want to save, if you have in another software created rental listing descriptions and things like that, make sure you save that info so you're not having to recreate the wheel, so you can copy and paste that into Turbo Tenant. So when you're ready to market again, but it's not a huge lift. It's just, if you have a ton of properties, it'll be just that much more time. And so either way, all at once or kind of slow roll it as you are filling or renewing tenants.
Good. Cool.
I like the one thing you were talking about, how you provide rent collection, credit check, and document signing. I have all those different things, and they all cost money per month and everything like that. You said document signing. Do you use your own document signing, or you use HelloSign or DocuSign or?
Yeah, great question. We do have an integration with HelloSign. So,
I love
but it's fully integrated. So inside Turbo Tenant, you upload your document. Anything outside of the lease agreement, you can choose where they sign. If you want them to initial, if you have your own lease agreement and you want them to initial every single page and sign in key areas, if you have other custom documents that they need to sign. So you can still choose where they sign and throughout the document, or once at the end. But yeah, it is a full integration with HelloSign.
Okay, wonderful. I love all those features and benefits there. Great stuff. Instead of having all those, subscribing to all those different companies, you go to one-stop shopping. There was a question from Tim Wilkinson.
So I can upload my own documents though too and use. I don't have to just use. So like if I wanted to upload my lease purchase, I could do that. Sorry, Uncle Claude. I just want to get clear on that.
Yeah, 100%. You don't have to use our lease agreements by any means. You can simply upload your own document, choose where they need to sign, or also put blanks of other information they need to fill out. Like you need to put your name here and you need to put, whatever that might be. Yep.
I'm
so you don't
paying
have
30
to-
bucks a month for that. For that alone, I'm dropping 30 bucks a month.
Oh man, yeah, you could use us just for that.
Right.
Save a lot of money.
I'm saying.
Unlimited signatures. So yes, if nothing else, if nothing else, definitely.
Very good. Tim Wilkinson has a question up here. Tim, if you're on, you can jump in. Otherwise, I'll just read your question. Tim said he uses a competitor at this time for no reason other than he found them first.
We
And
just
he
did
wanted-
that one, Uncle Claude.
Oh, we did that one already.
Yeah,
I'm
we're
sorry.
down here to he's got 2 properties to rent by the room.
Oh,
Does he set up each room as a unit and treat the property as a multifamily residence? Is that what you'd recommend, Teresa?
That's phenomenal questions. I'm going to answer that in 2 parts. So part number 1 is the way that Turbo Tenant is set up right now. Each room would be a different unit or property in there, right? So front bedroom would be one listing, and back bedroom would be a completely different listing. Now, not really released yet, but we are currently specifically doing room rental development in the software. So really soon, we will actually have a much stronger structure in the software that allows you to kind of, pyramid those up to a property and have different rent by the room scenarios. So, and you could even do with the way that we're developing it, it could be multiple to where you could have a 4-plex and maybe 2 of the units are not rent by the room and 2 of the units are, and you can mix it up. So right now they people do enter them as different properties per room, but pretty soon that'll be shifted to a more just the way that you would really think about rent by the room as a landlord. Great question.
The last question in the chat that I see so far, and I'll take another look real quick, is how do you make money? I mean, you're not really charging. I mean, do you have 1 million customers? Is that how it works? Or like, I don't know, like you're not charging enough money to make, how do you do it? Do you mind me asking?
Man. Yeah, so we make money a few different ways. So one is premium subscriptions, which isn't a lot of money, right? A la carte purchases. So people who aren't premium, but they want to just get one signature or something. To do one e-signature, it's only $9. So, very cheap way to do that. We do make money when your tenants pay for applications and background checks as well. So you can, as a landlord, again, elect to pay for that, but typically it's done by the tenant. So we make money off of that. We make a little bit of money off of credit card fee if they're paying with credit card. So there are ways that we make money, but yeah, we want to keep it affordable. That's one of our strong points is being able to empower independent landlords to self-manage as long as possible, because it's not really expensive for them to do so.
Great. I love companies like yours, just frankly, if you don't mind me saying.
Thank you.
Creative, efficient, affordable for the man on the streets. It's perfect. Is there there's some more questions I think coming in. Hold on, let me take a look and see. You guys can speak up if you want.
Ty Sherwood has a question.
Yeah, what do you got, Ty? You want to just ask? This is a great question.
How can we refer you to our friends? Is what he says.
Yeah. You can share the link that Justin shared. Share that link with them. Tell them to sign up. And if you sign up for Turbo Tenant, Ty, you can also inside Turbo Tenant. We have a landlord sharing program where if you refer people and they end up signing up for Turbo Tenant, or pay using like a paid feature like premium, you can also earn an Amazon gift card.
Cool. Right on. Thank you.
What a class act. That's a class act right there. Top professional. If Teresa is any indication of how the whole company is run, you will have no problems over there. And I've heard nothing but good things from anyone that's had any experience with Turbo Tenant. So, in fact, I started this whole concept of bringing you on because I have students that were like, "Hey, I'm using Turbo Tenant now. Why aren't you?" And I'm like, I don't know. What is it? Let me figure it out. Right. So this has been super good. We do have 5 minutes left. Are there more questions? from anyone.
Yeah, may I ask, looks like I missed this point. What about cash and checks?
Oh, really great question. So if you collect cash and checks, you can enter those as received as an offline payment. So if you're still using Turbo Tenant for all your other management and you want to track those payments coming in, there you can simply under the charge for the month. So just say they owe, $1,500 in rent and you get a check, you can just record an offline payment. A lot of landlords use that too if they accept housing vouchers. And what they do is they'll have two recurring charges on the property. One will be to the tenant for their portion, their $300 or whatever that might be. That's paid online through Turbo Tenant. And then the other like $1,200 when they get their deposit from the housing program, because they're not going to use Turbo Tenant, right? They're going to do it the way that they do it. You can just record that as an offline payment as well. So, or if there is a month where, normally you use Turbo Tenant to collect those payments, but for some reason, 1 month there was another scenario, then you can just simply record that as an offline payment and it's nice and easy in there. Mm-hmm.
Can they send check to you?
We don't accept or process checks. So if they are going to write a check, I would simply encourage them to sign up for the ACH method of payment. They don't have to enroll in auto pay. They can simply sync their bank account and then make the payment when they're ready to make the payment. So if they're using checks, there's really no reason to not pay with ACH because it's coming from the same place. So that would be my recommendation. We don't process physical checks. So if you do want to accept checks, they would need to send those directly to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's a good question from Tim in the chat box. Will Turbo Tenant answer tenant phone calls?
Ooh.
That's a good one. Can you
Great
have
question.
Mr. and Mrs. Annoying call you 10 times a day?
Yes. Well, so it depends what
careful.
they're asking about, right? Anything related to the software, yes. So we support, first and foremost, our customers are you guys as landlords, right? The tenants are not really our customer unless their landlord is using us, right? But our support team fields everything from tenants to, sometimes they have questions about filling out an application, or sometimes they have questions about, the background check or whatever it might be. So if it's something really relating to using the software, we 100% support that, right? So you don't have to worry about tenant questions relating to the software. If it's something outside of the software, that's 100% back to you guys. So if they have a question about your listing, like, oh, do you allow smoking inside, or, whatever it might be, that goes down to you guys. Yeah. So it just depends what it's for.
Great.
Great.
Last call. Anybody have a question for Teresa before we run out of time? Somebody play the Jeopardy music, please.
This has been great. This has been really good.
Very informative. Thank you. We
you,
have
guys.
your link in the chat room there. Is there a phone number you want to give or anything else? People to contact your company?
Yeah, if you want to contact me directly, I'm putting my email in the chat now. And then also our support team. So you can use those emails at any time if you have questions, for sure. Yep.
Wonderful.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I really enjoyed it, and a lot of really, really great questions too. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's great. Thank
Round
you
of
so
applause
much.
for Teresa here. Come on.
Did you guys learn anything? Does anybody want to go get a portfolio of rental properties now that maybe previously was like, well, I'm not sure if I can tackle that? Okay, just
Very
me.
good.
I'm the only one thinking that. All right, never mind.
I'm thinking of beautiful Fort Collins. You live in one of my 10 favorite places in the world. I love Fort Collins.
Nice. Yeah, I love it up here. I've been in the Colorado Front Range for I don't know, almost 6 years now, and yeah, it's great.
I'm in San Diego now, but we live in Winter Park, Colorado, not that far from you.
Oh, yes, that's nice. Very, very beautiful area.
Over 500 inches of snow this winter.
Yeah.
But Fort Collins is a lot lower and it's a lot warmer.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you have, I think, is it Fat Tire is there or something like that? Some of my favorite breweries are in Fort Collins there.
Yep. New Belgium Brewing,
That's-
known for Fat Tire.
Yeah.
Oddly, I was just there yesterday. I did a bike ride that started and finished there. So I was just there yesterday.
Colorado is, I think, one of the healthiest states in the country. Because everybody's outdoors, winter, summer, people are always hiking or climbing or biking or something like that.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Teresa, thank you so much for coming on what a very informative. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great.
Yes, thank you so
guys
much.
so
Thank
much
you,
for
everybody.
having me.
And thank you, everybody. Just a reminder, Brandon, Justin, and I are doing a special this Saturday, right, Justin? We're doing a
Yeah.
special lease purchase revolution
Right.
presentation.
It's gonna be
We're going to be
really good.
talking about all the different aspects, real update on the contracts, on the marketing, the salesmanship. You guys know I love talking about sales, and probably something we don't speak a lot about, consulting in creative real estate, other passive income streams that you may be you're talking to people who you may not be able to do a deal with, but maybe you can get paid for your time, knowledge, and energy. I'm going to be spending one of my segments on that also. Justin, last word. Anything else, Brandon?
I don't have a last word. I'm good. Anybody, Brandon? Everybody cool? All right.
Yes.
All right. I'll see you Saturday then, I guess, everybody at the Revolution.
See you then, guys. Thanks for joining.
All right.
And
Thank you,
everything.
Teresa.
Take care.